Welcome back to The Person That Everyone Needs. We are continuing our conversation on parenting the person that everyone needs. As we begin today, I want to start off with a quote by Vadi Balkum, who says, "God has designed your family, not the youth group, not the children's ministry, not the Christian school, your family, as the principal discipling agent in your children's life. The most important job you have as a parent is to train and disciple your children." I've heard others say that it's easier to build children than to repair men. So your job as a parent is very important. It is very important, decided by God. Discipling your kids is your primary job while you're stewarding them. Today, the focus that we're going to be talking about is giving some areas in their life that need direction. My wife reminds me often of kids needing structure. There was a school, and they had this large field for the kids to play in, a big playground for them to play, and the kids would stay really close to the school building because of how large the field was. They were intimidated by the largeness of the field, and so they wouldn't go out and play far away. They would stay real close to the building during the playground time. Eventually, they put up a fence to kind of cut off, what the actual playground area was, and the kids began to populate the entire area that had been fenced in. There was something safe feeling, something that gave them confidence that they could explore the rest of the area that had been fenced in because the fence was there. It was a comfort to them. Your children want you to give boundaries. Your children flourish in boundaries. Let me tell you something. Your kids, they want you to tell them to turn the TV off. I know they're going to whine, they're going to complain, but the truth is they want to know where the line is. They need someone to give them direction. So don't be the type of person that is worried about disappointing your child. Disappointing your child is part of disciplining them, discipling them. It's part of the job. And so don't hate those moments where they give you side eyes or they ask you why. Tell them this is what's best for you. That's what you have to remind them over and over again. I would never do anything to harm you. Everything I'm doing is to help you. And that's your number one expectation from God, is to disciple your children. So when it comes to discipling your children, what are areas that you need to make sure you're granting direction? Many times, we don't even know how we're supposed to disciple. We kind of come into parenting freaking out because I don't know what they need to know. I don't know what to tell them. And so many years, we just basically let them free range graze in our backyard, and we're allowing them to learn everything they have to while being in our home. And we end up becoming just people who provide a place for them to learn everything instead of strategically discipling them. So I want to give you a framework today. And the reason I think that's important is your children need a framework, and you as a parent need a framework in which to help guide your children. So I told you this in an earlier podcast. When my sons started understanding words and that kind of thing, when we would take bath together, I would tell them, wash your hair, shoulders to hands, shoulders to hand, your front, your back, your legs to your feet, your legs to your feet. And then I had little noises I made for their private and hind parts, and so it was just little noises. But the reason I did that was not just to make them laugh. They giggled, they thought it was fun. It became a thing that they would chant with me. But I wanted to give them direction, because sometimes we just need a framework that every part of our body needs to be washed. I remember sometimes that because I didn't have a framework, I'd get in the shower and I'm like, okay, so I've rinsed, what's the big deal? And I need to be reminded, like, every single part of my body needs to be clean. I remember when I started having a lot of ear issues and I would have this stuff on my ears, I had to be reminded, because I don't see my ears. I don't know what they look like. I had to take the time to make sure that my ears were clean. I needed that reminder, so it's a framework that it helped me. That's all I'm trying to tell you. So as a parent, you might need a framework as well. And I'm going to tell you to go to Luke chapter 2, verse 52. And Jesus grew up normally. And how did he grow? He grew up in 4 areas. We've talked about this in the past, talking about you personally, but as a parent, you need to make sure you're helping your children grow in these 4 areas. Number 1, it says that he grew in stature. Number 2, it says he grew in wisdom. Number 3, he grew in favor with God and favor with men. So those 4 areas are, number 1, you need to help them physically. What are you doing in their physical life to help them make sure they grow up and be healthy? The second thing is intellectually. What do they need to know? What do they need to learn? Number 3 is in their relationship with God. Are you teaching them what they spiritually need to know to grow and maintain a strong life? And the fourth one is socially. So let's take them one by one. Number 1, physically. Are you explaining to your children that what they eat is what they become? Are you showing them that if they don't eat right, they're not going to feel right, they're not going to live right? In fact, they might find, because of the way they're eating, that they may be more sluggish, more slow, not as strong as they could be. Are you showing them, reminding them that exercise is important and showing them the different types of exercise? I'm not telling you have to become a doctor on these things, but I think we all kind of know that physical health kind of comes down to 3 things: what you eat, exercise, and rest. Those are the 3 things that contribute to weight loss, to health on every level. Now, beyond physical, like the physical body, that line should also be emotional health. You know, no one has more control over your emotional health than you do. Your children need to know that. If they're getting angry in class, they need to figure out where that's coming from. It could be their eating habits, or it could be the fear of what's happening in the home, or it could be some other concerns that they have, maybe a social issue of some sort with the friends there. You need to take the time to help them regulate their health, their physical health. The second area would be intellectually. Your job is to teach them, number 1, how to learn. How to learn. If the only thing they're learning is by a teacher standing in front of them and telling them what to do, or whatever they pick up on YouTube, they may not be learning how to learn. Your job is to teach them how to learn. That's the first thing. But beyond that, what are some of the things that you want to make sure your kids know how to do? So I remember when my dad took me and showed me how to change oil in my vehicle. I have basically exclusively taken it to a garage since then, but at least I know how to change oil. It's something I want my kids to know. That's an important thing. That's something that they need to know how to do. An area that I've been very strategic with in my kids' lives is finances. My sons started getting gifts from grandmas and grandpas and stuff like that, and friends during birthdays and stuff. And so I wanted them to understand the framework of what Dave Ramsey encourages, which is give, spend, save. I'm a Dave Ramsey-ite, okay, if you don't like him, whatever, but I'm a Dave Ramsey-ite. And so my sons have been tithing and saving since they've been getting money. I wanted that to be a part of their life. Another area that they need to, that there's only 3 areas you really have any property or whatever. And number 1 is your time. Okay. That's what we're going to talk about next. Number 2 is your talent. You need to make sure that they're learning how to serve, that they find a worthwhile skill that they can get paid for in their future, but also understand that not every time that you use your skill do you get paid, that you need to be a servant at some point. The third thing is your money, which we just talked about, your treasure. So time management. I always encourage people to read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He also has a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. I can't encourage enough reading each of these resources. They are powerful, huge, wonderful helps in helping your children learn how to properly prioritize, how to make right decisions. So I encourage you to go pick up Covey's books. Some other things that they need to know is, well, I wanted my kids to know how to hunt. So I take my boys hunting during each winter. I wanted them to know about sports, so I've taken time to make sure they understand those things intellectually. We listen to music together, and I ask them, do they hear the different sounds? Do they hear the trumpets? Do they hear the brass? Do they hear the drums? Do they hear? I want them to understand these pieces, so I'm pointing them out to them on the regular. What are the things that they need to know, and then what are the things that you want them to know? All of these things are on you to help guide them in those things. So just make a list sometime. Don't get overwhelmed by this. These are the 4 major areas: physical, intellectual, spiritual, and social. So don't overwhelm yourself with the long list. You can spend lists all day long, but what are the things they need to know? What are the things you want them to know? So the 3rd area is spiritual. What do they need to know about that? Well, first of all, you need to model it. They need to see you reading your Bible. They need to see and hear you praying. But other than that, that needs to become a regular part of your life. Be reading the Bible. Read the Bible with your kids. Read Bible stories. Get a devotional and read with them. Reading is so important. It develops so many great things in your kids. Reading is one of my highest priorities with my children. I try to read with them every single night. And if they're going to watch something at night before they go to bed, I try to make them watch a Bible show, a cartoon of some sort that would kind of put them in the mindset of God's closeness. I don't want them watching, dinosaurs or Transformers before going to bed, because I want their mind to be how close God is, not how close the monsters are. That's just my thing. I'm not telling you what to do. Spiritually also, don't let church be an issue. Don't let it be an option. I say to people who haven't seen me in a while, you know where I'm going to be on Sunday. People would tell me, I don't see you all that much. Well, you know where I'm at on Sunday. I'm going to be at church. So I encourage you to make sure it's not a question for you either. The last area is that of social. How does your children act with other people? How do they interact? Are they dependent children? Do they need other people around for them to live, or are they interdependent? Stephen Covey talks about that. Being socially strong means you're able to stand on your own feet, but you are also connected to other people. It's a very important part of your life. And so socially, school is hugely helpful for that. Church is helpful for that. Having friends, having connection to other people is a very important thing. How do your children regard older people? How are they respectful? How do they treat people that are younger than them? How do they treat people who are different from them? Do they honor all people? Do they value all people? Do they shake hands? Do they make eye contact? Are they spending their time doing the best they can to help others? Socially is another area that it is our job to help. And so helping them create some boundaries in their life so that they know how to act. With my sons, I'm regularly reminding them, you can't cut people off while they're talking, or you can't talk to them while they're talking. This is my job. It is my job to explain to them why we do not cut people off while they talk. I'm not doing a great job of it right now, but it's going to get through there. It's a very important thing that we keep these 4 things in our minds. You need to prioritize their physical health, emotional, physical health, all that, intellectual learning, their spiritual growth, and their social encounters. You need to do all that you can to give them parameters, create boundaries in their life. Say no to them from time to time. It is your highest job to be the one to say no. Say no so they don't have to. Help them learn how to say no by saying no to them. Give them some boundaries in their life. They will be grateful. They may never say it, but I promise you, they will be grateful. And I am grateful to you for listening to these. I hope they have been encouraging to you. And I look forward to talking to you on our next topic on the person that everyone needs.